Good day, friends. This is the Soli Luna Inspirations with Dayana Robinson and Martin Comtois. We're covering the Taurus full moon lunar eclipse coming on Tuesday, November 8th, 2022 at 3:02 a.m. So in the middle of the night between Monday the 7th and Tuesday the 8th. Samhain, walk gently into the night. Welcome, friends. MC Starman with Dayana Robinson. Our last two videos were received so well, so thank you so much for subscribing to the channel, for commenting, and for liking. All of those things help us grow the channel. The more engagement, the better. And so this full moon, the CCR song, There's a Bad Moon on the Rise. When I was studying, I do a ritual every year where I study all the new moons and the full moons of the year to try to get a feel for the year ahead. And usually I do a little bit of a report on the year ahead, which we'll do that soon. But when I was looking at those charts, I looked at this particular full moon chart, and it says, whoa, this is going to be one of the most important full moons of the year. And so it started really with the new moon, didn't it?
Yeah, eclipse season that goes 1, 2, 3, bang.
The eclipse season is a really important time in astrology. It kind of sets the tone for the coming 6 months. And this particular alignment we've seen 3 times already leading to this one. So it's going to be quite powerful, and we'll get into more details.
So, Martin, are we going to be able to see this eclipse here?
Yes, we're going to be able to see this eclipse. So here's a picture of what it looks like from our perspective. So an eclipse is when the sun and the earth and the moon are lined up exactly. And see, here we have the sun, and then the earth completely covers the moon. And so in a solar eclipse, you only a small portion of it is visible in the world, but a much more a field of vision is there, because you know, again, this moon is so much smaller than the sun, so then the earth can hide the whole moon for a much greater audience. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, so this Taurus full moon lunar eclipse, so what do we see? We'll get into more details and we'll flesh it out. But we have a Sun, Mercury, Venus conjunction. So you can see that in opposition to Moon, Uranus, and the North Node, forming a T-square with Saturn. And so there's a bad moon on the rise. This is a very intense moon. The sun, Mercury, and Venus are in Scorpio. The Scorpio is that go gently into the night, right?
Yeah,
and
I was going to ask you. So, Samhain, walk gently into the night. What do you mean by that?
what do I mean by walk gently into the night? Well, we need to have our tools. We need to be prepared. We need to thread into the night gently and know what is in this realm of the night, this realm of darkness. This is the time where, from the next quarter of the year, the darkness, you know, this is the darkest quarter of the year. And so it requires tools. So our journaling, our dream work, our different practices, or yoga practices, or meditation practices. And I wanted to introduce you to a new word, apotropaic. Apotropaic means to use rituals to transform the energy into more positive, to change the light into, to change the dark into light, or to focus on the inner light through rituals. So these types of practices resource us as we face the shadow of our times, our own shadow. These are times where, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, very reminds me of a very Scorpio rich mythology there and support.
Absolutely, Scorpio. And so with the Mercury and Venus and the Sun in Scorpio, then the North nodes in and the Moon with Uranus, and then with the T-square of Saturn, that's that's a lot of tension. So the Moon Uranus conjunction with the North node. So Uranus has been in conjunction with the North node for most of the year. And, so the North node is what we're moving into in our lives, in our faith, in our destiny. Uranus brings about great evolution and change. And then the Moon is our primal side, our feminine side. So here we have a Moon Uranus North node in opposition to the Sun. Mercury is the guide of soul, and Venus is the goddess of love. But Venus in Scorpio, it's kind of a witch, and then we have that Saturn in Aquarius that really dominates the whole thing, and Saturn in Aquarius is really important. Yes, and then there's the Jupiter Neptune conjunction, which will be shifting, and then that Mars square Jupiter Neptune, and Mars plays a really important role there, just finished moving retrograde. And then we have that triangle of Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. That's the last time we're going to see it this year. We'll talk about it a lot more next year. That's the triad of transformation. The more things change, the more they remain the same.
That was a lot.
Did you pause?
No.
Cool. So we're trying new things, and so this pausing thing and different things to try to make our videos smoother. We also have a new set. And tonight is Halloween, so Dayana is a pirate.
Arr, I forgot my hook hand.
And I'm an astrologer. So here we are on the table. So we have Uranus, Sun, and the North node. You don't see the North node. We'll just make it a little bit here. And so we have Uranus, Moon, the North node, the Earth, and then Venus, Mercury, and the Sun in a 5-planet with the sun with the Earth 6-planet complete, and the oppositions, and this is a very tight opposition. So the Sun is what I shine into the world. The Sun in Scorpio is I got to shine my light into the darkness, right? The Scorpio is the invitation to face the darkness. Mercury is the lord of communication and gathering of information. Mercury's got wings on his feet, wings on his head, can go to heaven, to hell in a flash. So Mercury is visiting with the Sun, approaching the conjunction of Mercury and the Sun. We've also had Venus-Sun conjunction. So this is very important. Mercury, so Mercury is passing behind the Sun right now, actually. And this is the second conjunction of Mercury and the Sun. Very important time. The messenger is checking in with the solar deity, and then Venus, the goddess of love, the muse and creativity in Scorpio also. So facing that darkness, it's really quite an intense placement. And
I love that because I've been studying Mercury lately, and there's been a huge emphasis on how it's the part of us that is it's the communicator, but it's also the part that listens to the information. And I don't know, my process the last week has been a lot of angst and facing my fears and the darkness within me, and then taking time to like either write it out or communicate with myself or nature or whatever I'm praying to, and listening to the new pieces of wisdom coming in from those dark places. So that seems like it really fits.
Beautiful. Also, Mercury is kind of the scout, huh?
Yeah.
So now he's in the process of moving past the sun and moving ahead. So going from the morning star to the evening star, we're going to start seeing Mercury in, setting after the sun. And so when Mercury goes ahead of the sun, it becomes the scout, right? Gathering information, then it turns retrograde and turns backwards and then checks in with the sun. This is what I found out. And then it goes, oh, okay, we forgot a bunch of things. And then it comes back and again checks in with the sun. So that's that part of the cycles, and both of them are in Scorpio. Now Venus also is in the process. So Venus is also in the back of the sun, and both of them are going to move into the evening stars, and we're going to have a Mercury Venus conjunction later this month. And so that's really important. It's like a powwow, right, between the sun, Mercury, and Venus about Scorpio. Let's find the darkness. And on the other hand, we have Moon Uranus and the North Node. What is our destiny? Where do we come from? What is the unconscious have to stay? And Uranus, the great bringer of light. And then we have that Saturn. Now, there's a video that we've done a few months ago about, well, actually, just 3 or 4 videos ago, it was the fall of the fall. The fall of the fall, we talked about how this particular eclipse has happened 3 times prior to this, when the sun and the moon are in the Taurus Scorpio. We've seen it last March. We've seen it
May? I think it was May.
Yes, you're right. May, Toro, yeah. Taurus, and then last November, and then the May before that. So this Saturn Uranus square and this eclipse season, this, these times that we're going through, this is kind of the end of them, this really powerful Saturn Uranus square aligned with the eclipse season. It really gives us a sense that there's a great shift going on. And it's pretty painful, huh?
Really painful, like final contractions.
Final contractions. The other thing too, well, I think that what this is going to shift the energy is the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction here. And we're going to see that leading to Christmas, that these are going to become the dominant alignment. And we've seen the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction at the beginning of the year in March as well. And so this is going to be kind of the Christmas flavor of the month, and with square to Mars. And so Mars, Jupiter, Neptune. In March of this year, we had a Mars, Jupiter, Neptune conjunction.
I remember.
If you remember that, all in Pisces. And so we're kind of reviewing a lot of the same energies and a lot of same stories. And we're really encouraged to dig deep into those stories to find out a way out of this darkness that we individually are, and the collective also, because if you just, look at the news and look at families and friends, wow, there's a lot that we're being asked of. This is quite a crisis, huh?
Yeah, it reminds me of the quote you put in the beginning of the video: change
The more things change, the more they remain the same. And what does that mean? Yes, it's easy to get caught up into thinking, we're beginning this great period, or we're, completely, this is, the end, or, however you want to look at it. Humans like to think in terms of really dramatic, but the reality of it is that the more things change, the more they remain the same. So, and really, the rich gets richer and the poor gets poorer, and it's been always like the story of this materialistic society. And so I don't anticipate really that drastic of change. I think the changes that we're seeing are in the individuals. We as individual are being asked to change. And if enough of us change, then we can create change in the collective. But if we take a picture, at this full moon of the state of the world and the chaos, it's about as big of a chaos as we've seen in a lifetime, really. And so really quite difficult to face.
I like that term. The more things change, the more they stay the same. It feels really fitting for this, like, because you said this big T-square, and this is all on the fixed axis. Fixed axis is all about maintaining, and yet there's so much calling for awareness and change to it, and yet it's all about maintaining and staying the same. So there's a big struggle there.
And yet that Uranus really shaking things up really bad, right? And then Mars is also making angle to Pluto and to Saturn and to Jupiter, Neptune, and then we got that Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, that triad of transformation. We just did a video on that too. So I think that's the next flavor, and I think 2023 will have a much different flavor. I would expect that after this full moon, things will quiet down. The next new moon and the next full moon align with Jupiter and Neptune, and so it will be much more dreamy. The intensity should drop, and then coming into 2023, a whole new set of challenges or energies are going to be at play, and we'll keep you tuned in. But you have some medicines that you're going to share with us, huh?
Yeah. So there's hope in store. Good things are coming, but there's a little bit more intensity to get through. When it comes to the body, we're in Scorpio season, and I shared it in the last video, but Scorpio governs our reproductive organs, and it's also the part of us that wants to regenerate. So in the tissue salts, which are this wonderful form of medicine that puts these 12 cellular salts that's in everybody's body into use. And so the tissue salt associated with zodiac of Scorpio is calcium sulfate, really good at pulling out impurities out of the body. It's the blood cleanser. We can tend to get pretty acidic this time of year. A lot of cooked food, maybe not great oils, maybe too much meat or potatoes. So it's really good at cleaning up the blood, cleaning up any skin issues, or even just on an energetic level, pushing that which does not serve itself out of the body, which is what Scorpio can be really good at, is regenerating and burning up what doesn't serve anymore. And then when it comes to herbal aspects to support the body, that tonifying regenerative quality what's associated with Scorpio often is the blackberry leaves, toning again, blessed thistle, horseradish, flax, leeks, wormwood, and sarsaparilla. So again, a regenerative quality to all of these herbs and foods, and really helping to push out that which doesn't serve, antiseptic, especially if there's any kind of infection going on. These can be really nourishing. And then because it's a full moon, the other side of the zodiac's at play, which is the Taurus energies. And so Taurus rules the kind of opposite side of the body. It's our throat and our neck, as well as our ears, our lower jaw, our liver, and our gallbladder. Really good time to do a liver cleanse. Here in North America, though, I'd say keep things warm, especially if you're in Canada, because we're hitting those colder days, so I wouldn't necessarily recommending juicing for most people now that we're in the cold days. It'd be more like broths. Cell salt, nat salt is what's associated with Taurus. So it's the water eliminator. If you're holding too much water in your system, if you're having a hard time digesting fats and your liver sluggish again, it's just a really good time to be taking care of the liver. Things can show up out of balance here if you're low in the cell salt, nat salt, if you're having things like rheumatic pains, so rheumatoid arthritis would be considered in there too. Nausea and digestive upset, so just to be aware of that. Usually a sign that the liver needs some love. Herbs that are really good for supporting the Taurus within the body is sage, thyme, bearberry, uva ursi, and coltsfoot. And a couple actions I encourage is, because the Taurus Scorpio is this part that wants to be regenerated, I always love the idea, when I think about it, connecting to our ability to find our voice and also our ability to express ourselves. So singing or even screaming if you need to. I know that Scorpio it's traditionally ruled by Mars, and there can be this slightly aggressive quality. And sometimes it just needs a place to be aired out. So going somewhere alone, somewhere safe, and just letting that out to be transformed into what needs to come through can be really helpful. Yeah.
Also like walking gently into the night, just taking some time in the darkness and lighting candles and offering some incense and some smudges and any kind of rituals to assist in the spiritual cleansing as well. Resourcing ourselves as we move into this dark period. This is a great time to really take up our studies again and to have a really solid journaling practice. Also, dreams will bring a lot of messages, and getting up before sunrise and doing some practices early in the morning, the Kundalini for sure, and then going on the beach or going in nature and some good screen therapy, and focusing on what is dying within us so that it can be reborn to a higher octave of expression.
I think of Scorpio often as also Libra is about the relationships and the connecting with other, then Scorpio is the transformation when you bond with other. So in the last episode you shared about the little death, but then there's also this aspect of if you're merging with spirit or merging with whatever you relate to as a higher power, which is, I think, in essence why we do these practices, right? To really strengthen ourselves.
Right. We're going to show you the important dates now that are coming up. This is here we go. So the important dates: Venus opposes. So we looked at this whole alignment of Moon Uranus, the North Node, and then Mercury, Venus, and the Sun. So then Mercury and Venus will take their turn, leading to the full moon, and after the full moon, and making exact squares to Saturn, an exact opposition to Uranus. So Venus opposes Uranus on November 6th, Venus squares Saturn on November 7th, Taurus full moon lunar eclipse on the 8th, Mercury opposes Uranus on the 9th, Sun opposes Uranus on the 10th, Mercury squares Saturn on the 10th. So from the 6th to the 10th there, lots of information. These angular relationships, these planetary alignments, they encourage us to actually give a voice to these archetypes in our practice. So, give a voice to Venus, your creativity, your muse, your desire for relationship. Uranus, how are you going to change? So Venus, Uranus is an opportunity to bring light to your relationship and to your creativity. Venus, Saturn, bring some discipline to your creativity and to your relationships. in, then the eclipse, and then Mercury opposes Uranus. Mercury opposes Uranus. There's the personal mind and the universal mind in an exact opposition. Great time for inspiration. So that's the day after the full moon, and one can get really inspired. Then Sun opposes Uranus on the 10th. And so that's a yearly event that's really important. And then Mercury square Saturn on the 10th as well. So lots of inspiration and transformation in facing the darkness and in threading, and in walking gently into the night with our tools and our practices. We can, lots of inspiration can be available to us. Then there's the Mars square Neptune on the 20th, and Mercury Venus conjunction on the 20th as well. So those are important dates to keep track of. So the healer and the dreamer astrology, astrology, dreams, and Jung. I do readings, spirit of the times 108@gmail.com. Drop me an email. Love to be of service to you. And day by day healing, Dayana Robinson. Here's her email address, daybydayhealing@gmail, if you'd like a consultation with her. That was fun, Day.
Yeah, it was fun.
It's
it's probably a lighter part of my week so far, so it's great.
Okay, and we've toyed with different things. You have the control now, which is kind of freeing me for talking a little bit more. How was the flow of things for you?
It felt okay. Let us know what you thought, and I'm sorry it's jerky. I'm hoping to get smoother with every episode. I appreciate your patience, support, and feedback a lot.
And then we have the Soli Luna here, so that new set. So that's the healer and the dreamer astrology is about the marriage of the sun and the moon, which is symbolized by the new moon. And so I hope you like the new setup, and keep sharing, keep commenting, ask questions, and we'll see you next time. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Au revoir. Take care.